Now we're looking on our reciprocal function, or I can call it rational function. So for rational function, the formula will be 1 over x. So the x will be in the power of -1. All right. So how to find the domain and range? So the domain, we're going to look at the denominator. So for domain of the function, we remember the denominator, we calculate it is not equal to 0. All right. Then range, it's also a special case because DSLR, you got S, you got log, you got R. R is for the rational. So how do we find out the domain here? Special case, we will calculate. So X is not equal to that value. So for range, we're going to close up. Kita tutup bahagian rational ni. Apa nilai yang kita boleh nampak kat luar? B. So your range here means Y cannot equals to that value. So rational function is we're going to exclude out the value of X, then to exclude out the value of Y. So this value of X and Y will be your asymptote, where the graph doesn't occur at that line. So for example, for this function, so function you can see here, penyebut X tak boleh sama dengan kosong. So this is our domain. So that's why negative infinity to 0, then continue 0 to infinity. Meanwhile, for range, bila kita tutup rational ini, nombor kat luar ni adalah kosong. So range, Y cannot be 0. So value of Y cannot be 0. So range, negative infinity to 0, 0 to infinity. So what happened to the value of 0 of this 0? So this 0 is the place of our asymptote, S0. So this is our asymptote. Y0, so this is our asymptote. So Y0, X0. So asymptote adalah satu garisan di mana graf tidak akan sentuh dengan dia. Dia akan pergi dekat dengan dia saja. Dan kita tengok graf kita. So our rational is in positive, so it will be occur at quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So if your rational is a negative, so your graph will be drawing in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So this is how we figure out our rational graph. So let's see the example for question A. Function equals to 2 over x minus 6. So x cannot be equals to 6. So when we're doing the rational, one thing we have to be careful is make sure the rational is a proper fraction. So what is proper fraction? This one we can carry out in topic 6 to find out what is proper rational. So means up here is a constant, down here is a linear. So up here is a value, down here is a linear, then it will be a proper fraction. Back to this example, we can notice that what is your domain? Domain, we notice that penyebut tak boleh sama dengan kosong. So penyebut tak boleh sama dengan 6. So our domain negative infinity until 6, 6 until infinity. Meanwhile, what is our range? Range, kita tutup function ni, dia nampak kat luar ni adalah nilai kosong. So range is Y. So we write Y is not equal to 0. So it will be negative infinity until 0, 0 until infinity. So from here we can draw our graph already. X-axis, Y-axis. State out our asymptote first. X cannot be 6. So you're having an asymptote at 6. Positive 6 at right hand side. So label. So this is 6. Where your graph doesn't occur on this line. Continue. So this is our vertical asymptote. Horizontal asymptote, you can see y cannot be 0. Y cannot be 0 is a horizontal asymptote. This is y0. So your graph will not going to cut this line. Your graph will not going to cut this line. So these two lines are called asymptote. Then where's our curve occur? Then we look on our rational here. So we can notice that our rational is in positive. Positive coefficient means it will be occur at quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So draw out our reciprocal, the graph. Graph akan dekat-dekat dengan reciprocal, then you curve. So kita panjang sikit x-axis kita. So x-axis. So another graph will be at quadrant 3. So pergi rata, pergi parallel with the asymptote, then only we curve. It's not L-shape, yeah, it's a curve. So just hujung graph ini perlu berdekat-dekat dengan asymptote. Then kita notice that we have an intersection here. Y intersection. So Y intersection you have to calculate when x equals to 0. What's your value? 2 over 0 minus 6. This is negative 1 over 3. Then lastly, we label this is our fx equals to 2 over x minus 6, where x is not equals to 6. Continue. For question B, fx is equals to 1 over x minus 1 plus 2, where x is not equals to 1. Find out our domain. Domain untuk rational adalah special case. Penyebut tak boleh sama dengan kosong, penyebut tak boleh sama dengan 1, maka negatif infinity sampai 1. 1 kita keluarkan. Then untuk range, kita kena tutup. Kita kena tutup rational kita. Kita tutup bahagian rational sini. Apa yang kita nampak nilai di luar tu adalah nilai 2. So nilai 2. Rational range adalah y. So y tak boleh sama dengan 2. Maksudnya negatif infinity sampai 2 to infinity. Then we can start draw already. Draw out our x-axis and then our y-axis. Okay, then what we need to draw is draw the asymptote first. Which is the line that our graph cannot be. X cannot be 1. Our asymptote occur at x equals to 1. X not equals to 1. Graph not occur at 1. So asymptote is equals to 1. Graph cannot at 2. So asymptote is value 2. It's a horizontal asymptote. Make sure we draw it horizontally. Label y is equals to 2. Then we want to draw our reciprocal graph, whether quadrant 1, 3, in the pair of 1, 3 or 2, 4. So we refer to our rational here, the coefficient is positive. So it will be occur at quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So quadrant 1, pergi dekat asymptote, then kita curve. So echo dia kena pergi dekat dengan asymptote. Okay, parallel to it. So for here, I have to be careful because I going to intersect y. We're not sure with the intersect here or intersect 0, intersect below y. So we calculate the value first. Y intersect. It is when x equals to 0. What's your value of y? Substitute. Negative 1 plus 2. so equals to 1. So it intersect up here. So when it intersect up here, what's your x-intercept? X-intercept, then y equals to 0. So I have to calculate x minus 1 plus 2 equals to 0. What is the x value? Negative 2. Then I multiply, we inverse it. Negative 1 over 2. Okay. X tolak 1, darab ke atas, negatif 2 turun ke bawah. So, X ni tambah 1, 1 per 2. So, 1 per 2. 1 per 2 berada di sini. So, 1 di sini. Okay, so kita pergi drawing the graph. Okay, asymptote, you go near to it, then you curve. Then we label the intercept. Y-intercept is 1. X-intercept here is 1 over 2. Then finally, label the function. Then we go for number C. Function given here is fx equals to negative x plus 3 minus 1, where x not equals to negative 3. So we start with its domain. Okay, domain, penyebut tak boleh sama dengan kosong. Penyebut nilai x ni tak boleh ambil negatif 3. So, negative infinity up to negative 3. Negatif 3 infinity. Keluarkan, kita keluarkan ni nombor negatif 3. Untuk range, maka kita tutup. Kita tutup bahagian rational ni, kita nampak nilai kat luar adalah 1. Negatif 1. So, y tak sama dengan negatif 1. So, negative infinity up to negative 1. Negative 1 up to infinity. Then we can set up our x-axis and y-axis. Okay. Draw the asymptote first. Where's the line that the graph cannot be? So your graph, domain is your graph, right? So your graph cannot be negative 3. Means at negative 3, we have a vertical asymptote, x. So x negative 3 is a vertical line. So y equals to negative, y cannot be negative 1, means at y negative 1, it will be a horizontal asymptote. So where's the graph? Is it in the pair of 1, 3 or 2, 4? We look at our rational here. In the coefficient of negative. So in the coefficient of negative means the pair will be in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So we draw our graph. So ekor curve dekat dengan asymptote. So sama sini. Begini dekat. So kita curve. Then we notice that we have intercept. We find out what is our x-intercept, what is our y-intercept. Y-intercept where x equals to 0. Negative 4 over 3. X-intercept where y equals to 0. So simplify. Inverse your, so it becomes negative, x equals to negative 4 here. So finally, we label the graph. So this is the graph of fx equals to negative 1 over x plus 3 minus 1, where x not equals to negative 3.